Survival of the Fittest is the 12th episode of Transformers Animated, airing March 8th, 2008. In it, Star is abducted by the Dinobots, so now Prowl and Bulkhead have to save her with the help of Fanzone. Shenanigans ensue. The episode begins with Sari doing some ninja moves, which go about as well as you would think. She's doing this because the bots think she needs to learn some self-defense because the Decepticons will be after her to key. Which, yeah, makes sense, but again, she's going against the Decepticons, so maybe something other than just hand-to-hand combat against giant robots would be better. You can do all this gym work and punching at your shadow, but you're gonna have to be an 8-year-old versus a 4-story transforming plane that shoots missiles. That night, Swoop appears at her window. Somdak appears, but Tom Kenny's not in the episode, so they have to reuse an audio gasp from him. And he's got milk and cookies despite Sari going to bed early, I guess. So the next day, Fanzone's on the scene with submarines. And hey, look, they rebuild the Secretary bot after Meltdown melted it. Look at Fanzone's giant 80s phone that also happens to be a rodeo phone for some reason. Even though when we hear him use it, it has, like, buttons.
Hang on, I get another call. This is Fanzone?
Still me, Captain.
Oh. Hang on. Yo, Fanzone here.
Still me, Captain.
Hello?
Still me.
This is why I hate machines!
No need to be such a technophobe, Captain.
Fanzone schools the bots on the difference between racism and just hatred, is fear. Fanzone thinks it's kind of dangerous to have an 8-year-old run around with giant robots and learn ninjutsu. As a 7-year-old seeing this for the first time, I was like, oh, what, Fanzone, you asshole. But now as a 23-year-old, I'm kind of on his side. This is pretty crazy. Also, I think I just realized Sari is a year older than me. But play it back, it's Swoop. Bulkhead and Prowl think out loud that they kind of screw themselves and they have to go to Dinobot Island. Surprisingly, only Fanzone hears them. So Bulkhead and Prowl just steal a boat. Seriously, Prowl throws his shuriken and breaks the chain on the boat and they leave. Fanzone is a licensed submarine driver. Okay, maybe it's just a learner's permit. They make it from Detroit to the middle of Lake Erie by sunrise, which might be, I don't exactly know exactly where Dinobot Island is. But also, one of them would have to have stored the boat. Huh, that shade of green looks familiar. Prowl finds his projector from the Dinobot episode, that's good continuity. You don't have to wonder who that shade of green reminds you of soon, because they just give it away that's Meltdown. He's taking control of the island, the Dinobots, and I think this is our first time Colossus Rhodes actually speaks. So with some shenanigans, the bots find Fanzone, and the yes it is real, but quicksand is really not as common as cartoons make it look like. Before the bots start answering things, the Dinobots appear. This leads into a tussle, and surprisingly Bulkhead's actually doing pretty good against the giant dinosaurs. And Prowl remembers he has a jetpack. And he notices some stuff on Swoop's inner thighs, which he thinks is acid. It looks a little more like rust to me, but I guess it is kind of hard in this simpler art style to depict acid burns on metal. In good continuity, it isn't just when Prowl notices. You can see the acid burns on Swoop earlier. But they get knocked down, so Prowl decides to break the fall by grinding down a Triceratops. But they get trapped, and Meltdown reveals himself. He only has one hand out, which isn't just an animation error, it happens later. Which I guess makes sense, you wouldn't need both hands out at all times, you can just use the acid from one hand. He blasts Bulkhead, that's a really nice detailed inner skeleton, and the others fall down the cartoon trapdoor. They say Dinobot Island was a research base before, so I don't know what kind of research was going on here that has this whole gladiator arena. And apparently Meltdown's plan is he wants to create organic transformers, so I guess he can turn normal again. And he has 2 experiments that didn't really work out. So he wants to use a kid instead, especially the kid of his rival. And could you imagine Sari as a transformer? The experiments, the Bat one's apparently his lawyer, and the Allspark Almanac says the Shark one was his stockbroker. The experiment's designs are awesome, but also kind of fall apart if you really think about them because they're meant to be bio-transformers despite being Frankenstein stitched up. Like, this guy has a full-ass squid for an arm, which I guess gives some levity to the idea that these two were people before. You think Meltdown did this himself, or he made Colossus Rhodes do it? The fusion creatures were actually designed by Thomas Perkins from Ben 10, and they are based off Transformer Pretenders, Bomberburst, and Submarauder. For those who don't know, Transformers Pretenders was a late G1 gimmick that's basically a Transformer inside a plastic shell, while in-universe it's basically meant to be almost Beast Wars with the Pretender shell becoming like techno-organic. And of course all the Autobots got to be lame white guys, even Prowl got whitewashed. And the Decepticons got to all be cool monsters like Skullgrin and the most famous Pretender Bludgeon, the Samurai Skeleton. I'm pretty sure I brought this up already, but Octopunch was almost adapted as a human villain, just wearing a costume. I actually kind of remember I had a middle school extracurricular art class. We had the Pretender shell for Submarauder, and we used it for stop motion. Which kind of makes me think how many of these Pretender shells are just out there and no one knows they're connected Transformers in like Goodwill bins somewhere. Anyways, Sora escapes by using the whole I have to use the bathroom, then jump starting the toilet and flushing the bad guy trope. Meanwhile, Prowl's dealing with the fish guy, and Fanzone's actually kind of badass, dealing with the giant bat monster. They team up and do the whole swing your partner around and around, kick those legs up, and knock them down. They escape and do the Akira slide, but we see it from the opposite angle. And something, we need you, but we're not always going to be there, blah blah blah. That's funny, Meltdown has 4 identicals of the same suit. I guess the ones would be stinky after a while, so he has to change out every other day. Fanzone takes one, and they make it out. So quickly jump in bulk, but oh no, the Dinobots! So Sorry uses all that training, and karate on, man. There was a distraction, and Prowl somehow doesn't just kick Meltdown in half being a giant robot. The Fanzone uses the extra Meltdown outfit he found, and ties him up. Missing his head, but I guess he can't shoot off the acid with his head. So now the Dinobots are free and they transform, even the other 2. Looking fucking rad. But then the Experiments and Colossus appear, so the Dinobots just murder them. And the day is saved. This is a fine episode. I like in theory the idea of Sorry taking being the guardian of the key more serious. Even though, again, probably should do something more than just all this ninja stuff when you're going against like a 30-foot tall helicopter with a fusion cannon. It's cool seeing the Dinobots again and having them transform. The more I get old, the more I like Fanzone, and I love him and Prowl becoming kind of friends and seeing them kick ass together. The villains are the weakest part of the episode. Meltdown is introduced way too early into the episode, despite still being a mystery to Prowl and Bulkhead. The best mystery stories should be ones you can figure out by yourself, but also be in the character's seats and wonder with them. Not even really kidding with the Dinobots killing Colossus Rhodes, because this is our second and last appearance of him. Hope you didn't care. Overall, it's a watchable episode made up for by the Dinobots and Fanzone. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I love Swoop's design in this series. Always love it when male characters are allowed to be scrawny and skinny, and it works for the pterodactyl. This figure was honestly one of my favorite things as a kid. I don't have it anymore, but for some reason I still have the mace. And likewise, I really like Snarl being different from him and being short and bulky. Instead of being a Spinosaurus, he's a Triceratops like Slug from G1. I don't know why they did it. I like that they don't all just have swords, they all have lava weapons, but only Grimlock gets a sword, while Slug gets a club and Swoop gets a maul. And they can turn on fire to give them fire and robot form. I really like that they're all different shapes and sizes from each other. For some reason, Snarl and Swoop don't talk in English, but in the Japanese they do. But Derek J. Wyatt did say he would want Swoop to be played by Gilbert Gottfried and Snarl played by Louis Anderson. Which I'm 50-50 if that's actually a joke or if he kind of would do that joke in the show. Both famously having annoying voices. But make sure to like and subscribe to my annoying voice.